So, what have you seen?
All right, yeah, I also have watched 2 movies this year in theaters. Recent releases.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna talk about the most recent release first because it was just your run of the mill, like nothing that blew me away.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily looking forward to, but was like I wasn't looking forward to it, but I did think it was gonna be like good.
Yeah.
So the Lego Movie 2, the second part,
Yeah.
of course. So it's of the 2 films that I've seen this year in theaters. It's the more recently released. I think it just came out last week. Yeah, it just came out last week. And so we went to see it. It's another Lego movie,
It's kind of like that. Is there Lego movie fatigue already? Like, we've had probably 4 years, huh?
Yeah, I guess you could say, because this movie did horrible at the box office.
Yeah.
It made
it was number 1 its week, but like not.
Yeah,
anywhere near
it made 50% less
Yeah.
than the first one
So,
during its first weekend.
Because it's not
So
unique
we'll never.
anymore.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
we'll ever
already
see
not
another.
unique.
Yeah, I think this is it. We won't
I
see
think
another
there's supposed to be a Lego Batman 2. Could get scrapped. I don't know. I don't know how far in development it is.
Yeah, it depends,
whatever.
I guess. Yeah, I haven't seen the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah,
To begin
I
with, so-
did.
No. Hold on? How do you feel about the Lego movie?
I thought the Lego movie was great.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I thought it was.
I really liked it. Like it
Oh.
has like a really good message
Yeah.
to it. It, when it's all said and done, the Lego movie is very similar to Toy Story.
Yeah.
In the end, like, because then you realize, like, oh wait, like the whole time you're just thinking, okay, this is just a Lego movie, like about these characters, but no, it actually is these toys that are being played with, and you don't realize that until the live action segment.
And my issue with the Lego movie 2, not Lego, the Lego Batman movie. Also goes.
Does it have a live action segment?
No.
Okay.
And like the villains aren't Batman villains.
Hmm?
No, it's like other villains from other movies.
I thought the Joker was.
He's
in it, but he's not the villain.
no, like he does. I forget where they go, but they go somewhere where there's other villains from other franchises.
Oh.
And he brings them all down. There's like Voldemort from Harry Potter, King Kong,
Really?
and like just other. I think there's like the Doctor Who villain or something like that. Anyhow,
Weird.
and
So then, I thought it was literally just a Batman movie.
yeah, so I went to that, and like the weird thing was Ralph Fiennes, who played Voldemort in Harry Potter, doesn't voice Voldemort in this movie.
Right, because
He's Alfred.
Alfred, right?
Which was a big miss. Unless there's like some sort of contract thing going on, but like it's all Warner Brothers. So I don't understand.
Yeah.
But the issue is
Because
that
multiple people, especially in this, in the Lego Movie 2, there are quite a few actors, I should say, that played multiple roles.
Yeah.
So it's weird that they wouldn't get.
So then
Anyway.
so Lego Batman 2, like all the Batman villains and heroes team up basically to fight these generic movie villains.
Weird.
And then they sing a song about how they're all friends. It wasn't my cup of tea anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lego Movie 2.
It's fine. I didn't really love it or hate it. I really liked
I was told there's a Bruce Willis cameo in there.
Yes, there is.
Was it worth it? Was it anything funny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's so he kind of all right. Well, I guess real quick spoilers. I guess it's pretty new, so I'll say spoilers. He appears twice, and so the first time it's just kind of out of the blue, and then and that's it. And then the second time he appears, it's a bit more extended, and it's an event. And it's Elizabeth Banks, Wild Style. She's crawling through the vents, and he's in there, and it's like a Die Hard thing. It's just an extended he's like, Yeah, I just like hanging out in bed. Like it's really funny. Like the first time, like they're just like, oh, and it's like that Family Guy, like, oh, and this person's here or whatever, and it's like, oh, Bruce Willis is here, and then Hot Tub or whatever, or something like that, and then like, but then the next time he appears, he's like,
that's pretty funny.
yeah, it's really funny.
So Chris Pratt, he voices two characters this one.
Yeah.
I think I learned that from the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the badass character or whatever. Almost like because it parodies itself because like he's like the Jurassic Park version of.
Well, yeah, he's multiple different Chris Pratt characters.
Okay.
This Rex Dangerfest is this character, and he's a archaeologist. So kind of the rumors of him maybe taking over Indiana Jones. Raptor training, whatever the hell his name is in Jurassic World. Galactic Guardian, and then just like a bunch of other little things. So like, yeah, it's like he's playing multiple Chris Pratt characters, all at once, and of course as Emmett as well.
So like, what's the premise, more or less?
The premise is like it actually picks up directly where the first one.
Okay. Is everything still awesome?
No. No, it is not. So, I'd say overall it does have a good message, like the first one does.
Yeah.
Where kids like let their imaginations, run wild, kind of thing. It does kind of have that message as well. Like it kind of goes into that. It really goes into like Toy Story 3 territory with the message. I won't say anything
like hands going towards like a firing inferno, is it?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it right yet. But yeah, so overall it picks up if you've seen the first Lego movie, it ends with the Duplo characters, because it's said that at the end of the first one, Will Ferrell plays the dad, and he says, "Oh well, since I'm letting you play with these Legos now, I'm gonna let your sister come down and play with the Legos too." So then it's the Duplo characters come down and they invade Bricksburg, and then everything they just destroy the city.
Oh yeah, because in the trailer it's almost like a Mad Max,
yeah. Type of, and then just everything goes nuts. But then these other things come down and invade and say, "Oh well, we're hosting an event, so we want your best of your best to attend," kind of thing. And so they grab up the main characters from the first one, minus Emmett, because he's actually not special. The whole time you think he is special, but no, everyone's special. So they grab all the main characters from the first one, and they go up to this event. What next? And then the rest of the movie, it's just going over the basic plot before I get into spoilers. Is Emmett is trying to get up there and save his friends. Like, hey, you kidnapped my friends. I want to go save them. That's the basic plot. Of.
So did you like this movie, or?
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. It's
it's gotten pretty mediocre reviews from what I've seen.
Is
there any glaring things that didn't work out for you? Is there anything that was like?
Let me think. I would say overall it's just like really kind of unnecessary. It's unnecessary. I don't think it needed to happen. It doesn't, it treads a very similar line and message from the first one, and doesn't really, there's so many beats that are kind of the same, and going into spoilers, I don't know if you care. Do you care?
Go for it.
Okay, so the end of the first one, you know, the villain, Will Ferrell's the villain, right? He's Lord Business.
Yeah.
And they work it out to, like, you know, just being like, hey, like, don't be evil.
Yeah.
And then he's not. Same thing happens in this one.
Gotcha.
You know, but then it turns out, you know, this character, Tiffany Haddish's character, she was never really evil to begin with. What it is it's the sister. She wanted to just play with the brother, but the brother never wanted to play with the sister, and it's just her saying like, hey, I just wanted to play with you.
Yeah.
Like, let's play. But the brother was always pushing her away,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much the story of this one. It's like, no, like, play with your siblings, kind of thing. Like, so it ends up with, you know, you think, because so Tiffany Haddish's character, is, you know, what the sister wanted to play with. Like, it's all the Duplo kind of just.
Yeah, the trailer is like this being that changes or whatever.
Yeah, this thing, Queen, whatever, want to be.
Yeah.
So, like, it even, you know, the live action segment is like the brother handing her blocks and being like, oh, this could be whatever you want it to be.
Gotcha.
So it's Queen, whatever want to be.
Yeah.
So, you know, she was never really evil to begin with. She just, you know, wanted to do different things than the brother wanted to do. So really, like, you know, the end of the first one, you know, Will Ferrell learns like, oh, you know, these are toys. I should let my son play with them and let him do whatever he wants, because the whole movie was just him wanting to do whatever he wanted with the with the Lego. But then this one, it's the brother not letting his sister do whatever she wanted to do with the Lego.
So the same but different.
The same but a little bit different.
Yeah.
And like it does have the Toy Story 3 moment of them all going into the garbage inferno incinerator thing, where because the mom you know, is the one that's putting her foot down, because it's called you know, Emmett has a vision of a Mamageddon instead of Armageddon.
Yeah.
And because the mom's like, hey, if you guys can't play together peacefully because they're always getting into fights, I'm going to take them all away and put them in storage. And what do they call it? They call it, oh, we'll get banished to storage or something like that. Because the mom's like, I'm going to take these toys away and put them in storage. And, you know, so that's what it's all coming down to. And she does gather up all the toys, puts them in a bin, puts the lid on it, and they're all there big, and they all sing a song, and they're all holding hands. Very much, well, they're not actually holding hands, but it's pretty much on the lines of, well, like they're all kind of separated, but it's very similar to, you know, them going into the incinerator in Toy Story 3. It's just them being sealed in a bin in the Lego 2. But I like it. I mean, if you like the first one, I think you would like this one. Like it's fine. Like it's not different enough, and it's not like, you know, overall.
And this wasn't directed by.
No. They like,
produced it, and I think
they are credited as, there's like 4 writers in there, 2 of the 4 writers. But yeah,
no, just kind of like this movie was like, I don't think it was advertised well too, because it's kind of like I knew it was coming out, but it was kind of like, oh snap, it's out this weekend. Never would have guessed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one issue. Like, it could be Lego movie fatigue too, because this is the 4th one in, I believe, 4 years. I think there's been one every year, maybe a gap between the first one and whatever, like, because I think it was a gap. Maybe it was a gap between Lego Movie and Lego Batman, but
the first Lego Movie was 2014.
And then
I know that.
Because then like Lego Batman, that Ninja one came out like
back
basically.
And then this one, I think it was probably Lego Batman 2017.
Maybe.
Lego Ninjago in 2018,
Yeah.
and then this
So,
2019. So yeah, definitely
They definitely fast
too much
those
too fast.
for-
And like with this, I don't know, like it's obviously it's the main, like those other ones are kind of offshoots,
Yeah.
and this one, I don't know, like you're right. Obviously, probably fatigue, but I think people, yeah, just weren't, like you said, it wasn't marketed properly, and then on top of that, like, you know, probably critics were just like, this isn't different enough. This isn't, you know,
Yeah.
it's pretty much the same, and like,
Which is kind of funny because like the guys who did the Lego movie did the Jump Street movies, and they're almost the same. But like the second one makes fun of that idea where it's like
yeah,
you need to make the same thing again just because
Yeah.
it was so successful the first time. So it's kind of ironic in a way that their
Mhm.
Lego movies kind of like did that, but like it's been yeah, it didn't work
Oh.
to an extent.
Okay, so do you want me to spoil it for you at all? Okay.
I don't know when I'm gonna see this movie, so
Yeah,
it's fine.
so there is an actual villain. It's not Tiffany Haddish's
Okay.
character. It's the other character played by Chris Pratt,
Mr. Dangerous.
Rex Dangervest, who is actually Emmett from the future. Which this whole time they introduce a time travel thing in this movie, and it does not work at all. Like it's so strange, and then
Everybody gets the Lego movie with like. Okay, so the first movie is all family oriented, it's nice and simple. Sequel, gotta ramp it up with time travel.
yeah,
Fasten your seatbelts, kids.
yeah. Because like Emmett, he sees visions of the future of Armageddon and like different things, and so Rex Dangervest tells this story. So Emmett, while he's going to save his friends, gets lost in space because he's going through an asteroid field and he can't make it through it, and Rex Dangervest swoops in and saves him. And he tells them this story of like, oh, I can't. What does he say? He says something like, I'm too scarred. I can't share my backstory. And there's like some interesting, because like I immediately thought this too.
Yeah.
I'm like, this character is just a figment of Emmett's imagination, because there's this whole storyline of like Wildstyle's like, oh, you're not. Because
You're not special, or whatever.
You're not special.
So he's thinking of
he's like, oh, I need to be a
badass.
hero. Like I need to be a badass hero to impress Wildstyle and stuff like that. So like I was thinking right from the get go, I'm like, oh, this is just a figment of and its imagination, and it's just like a persona that he's playing. And then there's a neat moment where like all three of them meet. Emmett's with Rex Dangervest, and like finally they meet up with Wildstyle, and she starts talking to Rex Dangervest, and he's like, oh, so you can't see him too, right? Like he's like, I was getting worried that like this is just someone that I made up. And I was like, I actually like that. I was like, awesome. Oh, that's pretty neat. But then they're like, he tells them his like backstory. He's like, oh, I got
everything
stranded.
was awesome.
Yeah, like I got stranded away from my friends, which is what happened to Emmett.
Yeah.
But no one like came to save me.
Gotcha.
And which is what kind of happened to Emmett. And then there's just this whole like. Yeah, like it's so confusing. Like I can't even really tell you what happened per se. Like it doesn't really make any sense. And even then, Rex Dangervest is revealed to be the actual villain, but then he comes around and is like, because Wildstyle does save Emmett and so Rex Dangervest is like, oh, I guess I guess I'm, and then he just just
Gotcha.
doesn't exist anymore.
That
But like he
kinda
does
travel.
turn around and he's like, oh, like, you know, because Wildstell came to save you during this moment, I don't exist anymore. But like, you don't need to be like me.
Yeah.
It's so fucking weird. It's so weird and doesn't
Gotcha.
really make any sense how he time traveled at all. But yeah, that's it. But there's like I said, there's some funny moments. There's like some really good funny moments. A lot of it in the trailers, like some of the like the Duplo characters.
Yeah.
My favorite bit was in the trailer, the little star toy thing being caught.
Oh.
In the door, and it's like, it's so cold. Help me, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that was my favorite bit, and that was in the trailer.
And then gets in and it's like, oh, nothing got in. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what's that?
Yeah, exactly. So that was in there. And then, but no, like the Bruce Willis thing was pretty funny. Like the second time he appears is really funny.
So I'm curious. I was online. I was like, oh, click here to see the special cameo in
Mhm.
Lego Movie. I was like,
Yeah, and then there's some neat things like they got Jason Momoa voices Aquaman.
oh, really?
Yeah, he.
Because I think that Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum returned to do
Yeah,
it.
they
Green
do
Lantern and
that.
Superman.
They were going to get Gal Gadot to do Wonder Woman, but for some reason she couldn't. Like she agreed to, and then something happened, so they got, and it's Kobe Smulders again, who was her in the first Lego movie. And yeah, but no, Jason Momoa is the Aquaman.
I read something that like Batman's character gets like a love interest in this one.
Tiffany Haddish's character.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
I
that
didn't
was a
like
pretty
click
good-
on it. It was just like almost like a spoiler shed title. It was like
Yeah, so the
Will
event,
Arnett talks about Batman's who love and Lego.
yeah, the event that they were like kidnapped for was a wedding, and it's because Tiffany Haddish's character, Queen ever want to be or whatever, she wanted to marry another character, and that kind of parallels like real life because the daughter just wanted to coexist
Gotcha,
with
gotcha.
the son's
Okay.
toys.
Yeah.
So she wanted to marry one of the son's toys, so she settles on she needed like a special character, so she does pick Batman, and it's really funny how that is one of the better songs in the movie, and one of the better parts of the movie is how she like convinces Batman to marry her. So like the song Gotham City Boys is what it's called, and so she like just plays up to she starts singing to him as if like she doesn't want to marry him.
Okay.
So like Batman's like, wait a second, why wouldn't you want to marry me? And so like it gets the better of his
The reverse
ego.
psychology. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
the reverse psychology, and it plays to his ego, and he's like, hold on now, like, because at first he's like, denying it. He's
Yeah.
like, no, like, we're not getting married, like, I don't want to do that, and stuff like that, but then she plays up his ego, and was like, no, I'm not into Gotham City Boys. And then he just starts going on, and he references, like, all the people who have played Batman, and he's like, oh, I've got Ben Affleck's looks, and I've got Michael Keaton's charm, and I've got like Christian Bale's like physique and stuff like that, and he goes on and he talks about like all the movies he's
awesome.
been in, and like that's one of the best parts of the movie.
I'll definitely give it a watch.
Yeah.
I'll wait until probably TV or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
So
again, if you liked the first one,
Yeah.
I would say you would like the second one. It's just not
the only Lego movie out there that I was never interested in was that Ninja one, because because there's a kids TV
second.
show, because my little brothers watch it or were into it, so like I knew of like the property that they were making.
Mm-hmm. It really probably just shouldn't have been a That was
No,
a theatrical
Yeah.
released movie.
I think it's probably the lowest grossing
Yeah.
one so far. And
Yikes.
so it's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll make a Lego movie. It's like, well, I say that, but it wouldn't happen because they probably cross along with introducing like the Marvel like Lego characters.
Okay.
But it's like a Warner Brothers
Yeah.
movie.
There's reference to them
Is
in
there?
this movie. Yeah, there's reference.
Because like you have to argue like the kid would own them all kind of thing.
They who is it? There's one character that's like, because they're talking about like who's up for the job or whatever to like take on this new threat, and they say like because like in the very beginning like the Justice League separate and they go off to go do something, and then they're also like, and Marvel's not returning our phone call, so like we're really out of luck here. So I think it'd be really cool if they worked toward that.
Yeah.
Like,
because I know there's like direct
really
TV
cool.
stuff based off like some video games out there.
Yeah.
Like there's like DC Batman movies or Lego Batman movies just based off. So the properties
think
are
there was-
endless.
Yeah, and I think there was like a direct to video Lego Marvel movie too. So
Don't doubt it.
I would love. Yeah, that'd be really cool if they could get the. Because like you said, they're like Warner Brothers has produced Marvel video games.
Yeah.
Right? Like they did the Lego Marvel
So
video games.
it'll be interesting to see how the rights work that way.
That'd be really, because that could be like the
crossover with all of that.
Yeah.
Where it's like Justice League versus the Avengers or whatever. Like
Do it.
that's the only way.
Do it.
Like I'm waiting for the video game of that because like they clearly have the rights for all that stuff.
Yeah. I don't know what's keeping them
So-
from doing that. I don't know.
Because there was even like, what game was it? Was it Oh, it was I think Marvel Superheroes 1, where I remember beating that, and there's like an after credit scene where it's like you think it's Batman in the shadows or whatever, and it like alludes to like it makes you think, oh snaps, like because like a portal opens up or something, but then it's like Black Panther.
Yeah. And then I think they did it with one of the Lego Batman movies where it looks like it's the Avengers, but it's the Justice League. Yeah.
So, because they know that's what we want.
They know, and
Because then that's the only way we can get it.
Yeah, it's probably like each company has to agree to let it happen.
But like you think that'd be the one thing that they would.
Yeah,
Because that doesn't
go
affect.
for it. Yeah.
Like that's not the movie, that's not the comics, that's the TV show. That's a freaking kids video game.
Yeah, just make it happen.
Yeah.
That'd be, oh my god, that'd be amazing. And for it to go over to the movies, that I don't know.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So what other movie did you see? I asked that knowing what movie you see.
So the other movie that I was actually really looking forward to was Glass, which came out in January. So it was the first movie we actually saw. I was really looking forward to Glass.
I think we all were.
Mhm.
But then I think the bad reviews got the best of me. I was like, because being like not like I told you, like I've seen Unbreakable years ago, probably like before even like appreciated movies. Just like it was a movie. I watched it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Didn't think much of it. Haven't seen it since. I know apparently it's great. So I do plan on rewatching eventually. Split. I was oversold on that one. I had a friend of mine who told me it was like downright amazing.
Okay.
And if there was then I had another friend go, "Oh, did you watch the disgusting scene?" So I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, "Okay, this sounds good. It's good." It was just a scene where you see him like kind of like you don't even see it, where he's eating the girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you don't see it.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? But so I was kind of oversold. Like Split was good. Like I liked it, but like just when I was oversold, like I had someone in my ear going, "Oh, this is like the best movie you'll see ever." So, I was looking forward to Glass. I thought it was an interesting concept. Then, the reviews are coming out for it, and they're like, "Oh, M. Night Shyamalan back to making duds. This is worse than you can imagine." So,
okay, so it's not his worst film. Without a doubt.
so in that I'm open for spoilers.
Okay.
Like I'll see this when I get a either DVD or a Netflix thing.
The thing that probably hurt me the most was I did like a retrospect of it. So like the 2 days leading up to going to see Glass, I watched Unbreakable and then Split and then this, and boy was that disappointing.
So before we get into the review, so when you're watching Split for the first time, how like were you like excited at the end of that when there was like a hint that it was like sequel to Unbreakable?
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of people I've talked to, many fans of Split, not a single idea what that last scene meant in that movie. Because there's such a big difference between year split between the movies.
Yeah. Well, Unbreakable came out 2000. Split came out 2016. I think.
And like I was talking to one friend of mine, and I was like, I didn't even see Split at the time. I just knew that, it ended with an Unbreakable connection.
Sure.
So I asked him, I was like, what do you think about Bruce Willis's part in the movie? And they're like, I didn't get that.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, that kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Thing. But anywho, so.
Yeah. Okay. So the one thing so I don't hate Glass.
Okay.
I don't hate it. It's got some really good stuff in there, and it's got some really bad stuff in there. But one of the things I give it a lot of props for is like it's kind of like Infinity War in the sense that like if you haven't watched those two movies, you're done. Like you're screwed. Okay. Like it really leads into like this is for the people that are fans of this series, which is a lot more difficult because it's not so directly translated. It's not like Split isn't called Unbreakable to Split.
Yeah.
And it came out, like you said, 16 years apart. So it plays into that like, hey, this is for the fans, but for general audiences, they have no idea what this is about. Yeah. Like they have no idea that these.
For example,
I need to watch because they're quickly going into like a little bit of spoilers. Like there's actually scenes in Glass that are unused footage from Unbreakable, and I'm like, because I was watching it, I'm like, that's clearly that like young Bruce Willis and young because they get the son, the actor plays the son in Unbreakable, they get him back for Glass, and I'm like, but I just watched that movie. This isn't a scene from that. Yeah. Like this is just unused footage.
Kind of impressive in its way, where it's like like you either planned it or it's just like it like was perfectly.
Yeah, it does work really well in the movie. So it seems like it was planned, but it probably wasn't. It probably was just like, hey, this stuff that we have.
Because I assumed Glass wasn't meant to be a sequel until probably near the I'm just assuming. Mm-hmm. Like I assumed Glass wasn't meant to be like a Unbreakable sequel until like probably near the end of production, probably.
Okay, so what I know from like the behind the scenes talk was the studio. So one thing that this is kind of a landmark for is Unbreakable is owned by Disney.
Oh.
Yeah, and then Split is the Blumhouse Pictures thing, and so this was actually like kind of a landmark case in crossover history, really, in a sense, because it was Touchstone Pictures for Unbreakable, which is owned by Disney, which isn't a thing anymore, Touchstone Pictures, but the rights are still held by Disney, and Disney just allowed M. Night Shyamalan to be like, go ahead, take your character back kind of thing. But it is, in a sense, a landmark case of this happening. Like it's never really happened before, where two studios are just like, go for it. So that in and of itself is neat on its own.
Because it comes because if we were to think about it, it's like, oh, Split made all the money and reviews. Disney's probably like, we want to cut that, but. Mm-hmm. They could have been like, we get like 0.1% or 1% or whatever. But with that, I know initially after Unbreakable,
the studio did want M. Night Shyamalan to make a sequel
Okay.
to it. They were like, make a sequel, and he was like, no, I don't want to. He's like, this is a one and done thing. He said, and then even after Split, he said, if I do finally make another sequel to it, it would have to exist on its own. And like, it does not. Like, it's so weird.
You really need to see Unbreakable and Split.
Absolutely. Like, you definitely
Because they
do.
refer to Unbreakable a lot. Because that would be the one people seen the least
Yeah,
between the two movies.
yeah. And it's the best of the three.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. It's definitely, yeah, Unbreakable is like, I think, yeah, obviously it exists on its own because Split has that Bruce Willis cameo. So, you know, but that can still exist on its own. And then Glass just does not exist on its own at all. Like,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen one of those movies, it's like an Infinity War where you'd just be like, who's this? Like, why is this happening? What am I trying to say here? So, but yeah, Unbreakable really is the only one that you can watch, and it's a self-contained thing, and it is the best one. So what am I saying? What was I?
So just go through what worked, what
Sure.
didn't work.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay. What worked is it being a follow-up to Unbreakable. Like,
Okay.
Okay, I would say the first third of the movie, amazing. Like, it's really good. Like, I really like the first third of the movie. The second third is where it starts to meander a lot
Okay.
and starts to lose me, which a lot of people really liked. Actually, a lot of people liked the middle chunk of the
Okay.
movie, and then the last third is just awful.
I didn't read it, but like I've read like there's like spoiler after like not spoiler, twist after twist, where it's like a little too much.
Yeah.
Or it is too much from what
Yeah.
I'm seeing from the bad reviews, but
Yeah.
So is it? He says in Unbreakable sequel is like, it's called Glass. Is Samuel L. Jackson the focus of the movie? Like, is he like? Because he's Mr. Glass.
In the end, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In the end.
In the end, it is like, it all kind of revolves. Yeah, spoilers. I don't know why I have to keep saying that, but yeah, spoilers for this. It really all does revolve around Samuel L. Jackson's character in the end, but you don't really notice. Like, you don't. Yes and no. Like, he is throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying he's only in the end, but in the end, you realize like the whole plot revolves around him.
Okay. Cool. Okay, that's what I know because it's called Glass. I
Yeah.
assume you have to be a big. Like, I didn't know if it was like they just needed a name kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
No, yeah, it's accurately titled in the end.
So, okay, so let's get some spoiler territory. Like, what really didn't work? Like, it was just the fact that like it was an Unbreakable sequel. Like, you needed to know what was going on, or was it?
Okay.
Just
I'm
things
not
that went on that
okay.
didn't make
I
sense.
shouldn't say it's an Unbreakable sequel. It works. That first third is an Unbreakable sequel.
Okay.
Like, it works really well because it picks up where, Bruce Willis is working with his son as like this vigilante team, and it's really cool. Like, so the son has grown up, and he's helping his father. He's kind of like the Oracle to Batman. Yeah. Like he's a character. Like, they own a security business together where they rent out security equipment to people. But then on the side, the son is going and he's working on like a computer and they're doing research and he's like, okay, this, and it's just really cool. Like, it picks off kind of where, there's these people that are just, being dicks to like this store owner.
Okay.
And then it's just Bruce Willis tracks them back to like where they live and he just beats the crap out of them and gets them arrested. And And then it's, you know, you find out, yeah, like he's working with his son, and they kind of just team up to like take down criminals. And that, I'm like, yes, I want more of this.
Give
please.
me another hour and a half of this.
I'm like, yes, like give me a Unbreakable 2 where it's this. It's like them, you know, in and then it's like, you know, they're because at the end of Split, David Dunn, Bruce Willis's character, becomes aware of the Beast, James McAvoy. You know, so like the whole world's aware of him, and they, you know, so this whole time, you know, David Dunn is really like looking to track down James McAvoy, right? He's like, this is like, you know, we'll keep patrolling and being a vigilante throughout the city and stuff like that, but like this is our end goal. Like we need to find him and we need to take him down, kind of thing, right? Because like he's the big bad guy. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. And then it's just okay. So then it goes into this, and then he just randomly encounters James McAvoy.
Oh.
And it's very odd. Like it's just, and like it's so quick.
Like from the trailer's perspective, I would assume, because in the trailer it shows that James McAvoy with the cheerleaders.
Yeah. That's it.
He just randomly comes across that.
Pretty much.
Oh, you think to be like if his son's like looking up crimes or whatever that people are like, you think to be like missing cheerleaders.
Nope. Well, that does, like, they do realize that, like, oh, there's like these people like they're missing or whatever, but
they're not going to like look into that. They're just like, oh, hey, look at that people.
So what happened was, you know, his son is like, hey, like we got to ease up on the patrols because the cops are looking for you. Like the cops are actively searching for you now because everyone's aware of you. Like they know the guy in the green poncho. He goes out and he you know, stops crime. And cops don't like that. But people are just, you know, vigilantes. Yeah, of course. But so they're like, hey, don't, you know, he's like, don't go out tonight. Like don't go, you know, patrolling. Like we gotta ease up on that. But he does anyway. He goes out and he patrols, and he just bumps into. So okay, and then
like legit bumps into McAvoy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because he's walking around and there's like a street that's like blocked off by the police.
Yeah.
So he just doesn't go that way, and he goes down another street. And then he literally just bumps into James McAvoy.
I really wish it was, hey, there's missing cheerleaders.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit
Let's do their detective work to see where they're kind of going.
Yeah, that would have been
nice.
Yeah, that would have been neat.
Yeah.
So then...
Did they duke it out right then and there, or...?
Pretty much, yeah, because, so, you know, David Dunn has an ability to sense people's, you know, he can see the future.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like he has that ability, like if he touches someone, like he can see, you know, things that they've done. So he sees, you know, James McAvoy with all the cheerleaders, and he's like, okay, well, that's him. I need to follow him. Like I found him because he is talking with his son at this point. He's like, I found them, and so they're walking around, and then there is a little bit of detective work where he's like, oh, there was, you know, red clay on his pants, and they're in like an industrial area. So he's like, okay, So his son's like, okay, I'm gonna research and find out where like there is like a red clay, you know, warehouse or something like that, and then they find that out, and then so instead of just like following him, right, and scaring him off or whatever, he's just like, okay, here's where you need to go, like here's where there is red clay or whatever. So he goes there, and just in time for like the beast to be transforming into the beast to consume these cheerleaders, and like, this is where like I'm into this movie. Like I'm like, oh my god, like they're moving along so quick. Like I didn't expect them to move so quick. And like it's almost
fast
like,
paced but done well, kind of.
yeah, and
For
like,
now, yeah.
you know, exactly, like there's this big like showdown
Yeah.
already between like the two characters, and I'm like, oh, I didn't expect this to happen. And they duke it out.
Looking forward to like a round 2 type thing or something like that. Like they duke it out so early, there has to be like
Yeah, you would think. So yeah, and you know, so Bruce Willis shows up, like you think, oh, it's the Beast showing up, because the Beast is, well, Kevin, who is James McAvoy's character, has interacted, you know, his other personalities has interacted with these cheerleaders, and they're all scared, and you know, he's saying like, oh, the Beast is coming to get you or whatever, and then something's approaching, and you think it's the Beast coming to consume these you know, impure cheerleaders, but it's Bruce Willis, and he's there to save them. But just as, of course, the Beast has shown up, and you know, so they're fighting, like they start duking it out, and each one of them is surprised that either one of them is so strong, right? Because neither one of them have encountered another being to be this, you know, powerful, right? Like each one of them. So like in Split, there's the moment where, you know, James McAvoy like squeezes the life out of that therapist woman, and he tries that on Bruce Willis, but it doesn't work because Bruce Willis is unbreakable. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, but even like, and then Bruce Willis is like, why can't I take this guy down? Like, why is he so strong? Kind of thing. Like usually I could just like swat a person and they're down for good, you know. So that's pretty neat, and they're both like just, you know, one-upping each other. And then they just, it all culminates. They like fall out a window, and then there's just a bunch of police there. Like they just surrounded them, and you know, so they're you know, and for there's like a light that freezes James McAvoy, you know, and it shuts off the Beast, so he's just back to like normal and not powerful anymore. And then they appeal to Bruce Willis, being like, hey, you don't have to hurt anyone anymore, like we're placing you under arrest, like you know, it's time to stop hurting people, kind of thing. And he's like, so he just gives up, even though he could just like walk away if he wanted to. But he gives up, and then so this culminates, and then, you know, being taken to a facility.
So before we get to this facility, have you seen Samuel L. Jackson yet?
No.
Okay.
No. And so you're introduced to Sarah Paulson's character, who's kind of this new, this doctor that's interested in
superhuman people or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you know, they come to this facility, and boy oh boy, are there some bad people working at this facility. Like people that are just real bad at their jobs, but I'll get into that. So this is like, there's some, I really like the first third, even though, like you said, there's like them just chance encountering is kind of lame. But overall, the first third, great. I loved it. It's really good. And then the second third is where things start to go a little downhill. There's some good stuff in it, but overall, it just goes on for so long, and
does anything happen, or is it just like dragged on scene after drag?
Okay, so where, you know, it starts, like, what's interesting about it is, yes, this is where it comes into play. Are they actually superhuman, or is it all in their head, kind of thing? And you know, because with Bruce Willis, they say, oh, like, you know, your visions, is that you actually seeing something, or are you just really intuitive? You know, like you seeing the red clay on his pants doesn't mean you actually knew he was keeping the people in a factory.
You just assume so.
Yeah, you just assume so, and like that's like, oh, and like all these other times, like these instances where you've seen things, is that just like, are you just a good detective? And
Yeah.
you can, you know, come up with these things. And, you know, with James McAvoy, it's like, you know, you're able to climb on like walls and stuff like that, but is that just because, you know, there are really good athletes out there that can scale walls and stuff like that, like, and so it starts off pretty interesting, but it goes on for so long, and it's just like, we know they're not, like, we know they're superhuman based on the previous movies we've seen, we know that, but it keeps trying to hammer it in like these people aren't, you know. And Sarah Paulson is this character that's trying to say, like,
you're not a superhuman.
Yeah, like, you're just human, and I'm here to make you better, and accept that and realize that for yourself. And it goes on for so long, and you finally, Samuel L. Jackson's reintroduced, and so he's in a real bad way. You know, he's in a near vegetative state, I would say, from the previous time we've seen him being, you know, Unbreakable ends with, you know, David Dunn having turned him over to the authorities, because at the end of that, he, you know, goes to shake his hand for the first time, even though, so Unbreakable is a great movie. Like, it's really good, really well shot. Okay, and that's another thing that really works with Glass, is like the cinematography and the production design works really well. But that, I would say, of a lot of James M. Night Shyamalan's films, like Split, like some of the best stuff of that movie is just how well it's shot, and how well they use the, like, set design and all that stuff, you know, behind the scenes, and, like, you know, in camera, but not really, like, you know. So with Split, they use a lot of, like, you know, set designs that, you know, are split, like, it seems so obvious and stuff like that, but it's kind of just, like, played up to, like, you know, you don't really notice it, but if you, like, look at it for 2 seconds, you're like, okay, like, these characters are always split up, and, like, there's literally, like, a line in the middle of the screen, like, in the set, right? But and you know, really interesting things like that happen in Unbreakable all the time, and that carries over to Glass, like the production design and just the way it's shot, like, just really interestingly, you know, camera work has gone into it, and, like, you know, but just the story is where it falls flat the most, you know, where, you know, Unbreakable and Split had a good overall story for both of them, but the way Glass plays out, like, the story is the weakest part, like, the way it's shot, directed, and even acted for the most sense. Okay, so Unbreakable is one of my favorite Bruce Willis performances. It's like, it's so understated. He has, like, this very, like, he's, you know, he's there, and all this stuff that's happening to him, he's so unwilling. And he, you know, the whole time throughout Unbreakable, it's, you know, him trying to disprove that, you know, he is special, because, like, it's Samuel L. Jackson that's telling him, like, hey man, like, you're a superhuman. You know, like, you have to be a superhero because you're like this. And the whole time he's just like, nah, like, I just want to be, you know, I just want to be with my family, kind of thing. Like, you know, even though I'm getting divorced from my wife, you know, me and my wife are separating and stuff like that. And it's like this really, you know, it's not like a Bruce Willis movie. It's not a Bruce Willis movie. Like, when you consider, you know, Die Hard and you know, other big budget Bruce Willis performances, like, he's this very different character in Unbreakable, right? Like, it's this
one stands out the most.
Yeah. That, and, like, 12 Monkeys is another really unique performance that you see Bruce Willis deliver. But yeah, with Unbreakable, yeah, it's just super. He's just kind of like you could tell he acted his ass off in
Okay.
Unbreakable. Glass, not so much.
He's there for the paycheck.
He's just there. Like he is just. I don't even know why I started talking about this specifically, but yeah, with Glass, some of the best thing it's got going for it is its camera work and its production design and set design and
But
the
story wise, it falls flat.
story wise it falls
And
flat
some acting is
some acting like your performances from James McAvoy, amazing.
Yeah.
Like the way
who can pull off that many personalities, whatever.
yeah, because he does even more in this one
Oh, really?
than he does in Split.
I thought it'd just be like a quick like montage. Like, yeah, I remember this guy. He's the guy that has like the. I assumed he was
There's a
gonna
bit
be.
of that. Yeah.
I
there's a bit
I
of
just assumed he'd be like the beast for the most part, and then it'd be like, oh, in case no one realized this is the guy that has multiple personalities. So here's a quick recap of all the characters he was in the last one.
There's okay. It is a bit of that, but it works really well. Like there's literally a point in time where he's like quickly cycling through the mall.
Okay.
Like he's quickly cycling through the mall.
Oh, is that the
it's
scene
like-
in the show where like it's like flashing the light at him? I think there's like a scene in the show where it's like
He does it a couple times
he's
in
almost
that,
like a
but
photo
there's.
booth kind of type thing. And it's like every time they click it, he changes the personality or something like that.
I'm gonna get to it. Okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna get to when he cycles through it. What I'm saying, I don't know where I am in the story overall. So they get, they're at the facility, and Sarah Paulson's trying to convince them that
They're not superheroes.
they're not superheroes. They're just crazy, and it starts working. Like they start to believe, like even Bruce Willis is like, okay, yeah, that's right. I am just a guy. Like I think.
Meanwhile, the audience is like, this is BS.
Yeah, we're all like,
we just seen 2 movies.
yeah, we're like, all right, no,
You
like
can't say these 2
get
movies
over
didn't
this,
happen.
and it goes on for so long, and then there's so the staff that works at this facility are just some of the most incompetent people that ever existed, and they so it goes on, and you realize, like, okay, so this whole time you're thinking, you're told Samuel L. Jackson is like heavily sedated the entire time because he's so intuitive, and he's so superior intellectually that like he's too smart for them, so they keep him heavily sedated. But then you slowly start to realize, like, oh no, like because he starts doing things, and the staff are like, hey, like, did you just move? Like, how come you're out? Like, he's literally outside his room at one point, and they're like, how did you get out here? Because you're like, we keep you so drugged up, like, you shouldn't be out here, kind of thing. And it's so like painfully obvious. And you're like, yeah, that's not good. Like, write that down, tell a doctor, because like it's all these like nurses and stuff working, and it's like like, call the police, like, because at the end of Unbreakable he's charged with like terrorism, right, because he did all these things to find
crash
he did all these things to find Bruce Willis. So if he's outside his room when you think he shouldn't be able to move, no, don't let that happen. Like, something's not working. Eventually, he sneaks into Kevin's room, James McAvoy's room, and he's like, hey, like, I know, you're special, and the Beast is, wants to be known around the world. Like, he wants to exist and take over the world, kind of thing, and, like, I can help you do that. Like, I can make that happen. And the only way that can happen for the world to know that you exist is for you to kind of reveal yourself in the grandest way possible by destroying a superhero, a superhuman in front of the world. So there's this tower being built in the city, and it's like this really magically, architecturally designed building, and it's, this big thing that's being unveiled in front of the world, and it's getting this coverage around. So he's like, I'm gonna take you there, and you can fight on top. You can the guy that you were fighting before you came here.
Yeah.
If you go and kill him on the top of that building, the whole world can't deny that you exist. Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So he's like, let me help you get there, okay? Like, let's work together. I can get you out there. And the beast, he sees that he's a pure being, for wanting to help him, I guess. I don't know. And man, I'm kind of glossing over some bits, but then the thing that gets me is, so there's hospital staff when they first get there, and they're delivering food to James McAvoy, and they literally like turn their back on him at one point, and it's like, he's like murderous. Even if you don't believe that he's superhuman, you know that he's like killed people, right? And like, they're in this room, and they turn his back to him, and they put his tray down, and there's these bright flashing lights that can like change his personality on a dime, and so he's trying to convince this staffer to like stand in front of the light so it doesn't affect him. But the staffer at that last second clues in, and he's like, oh wait, no, like, I'm standing in front of the light. So he gets out of the way, and it flashes him back out like into a non-threatening personality. And so they're just like, the staff at this facility are just doing the most ridiculous things, and like it's regarding the murderous people, and so it gets to a point where the staff they're told like, oh, we gotta really pay attention to Mr. Glass now, like he's doing things, we think he's leaving his room at night, so like pay attention to him, like don't take your eye off him, kind of thing. And they, one person, and there's only one of them at night, I guess, working at night.
With like 3 superhuman type people.
In charge of these, and it's like this whole facility with other patients.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's a psychiatric facility for like mentally.
And the only one.
Yeah, there's only one person working at night. So, this one staffer, he's looking at, the camera, looking into Mr. Glass's room, and he's not there. So instead of calling for help, it being like, because there's security guards there, okay? There's security guards at various places. Instead of calling for help, he slowly just walks into his room. Or wait, what is he doing? No, because he is in the room, but he's not like, he's like in a weird place. Like, he's not like lying down. He's just like sitting down. So like, he goes there, and he's like, trying to talk to him, and he just slits his throat. He just slits the guy's throat, and then like he puts him down on the bed, and he's just lying there instead of like calling for help. But anyway, and then when there's like this change of staff, the next staff, like his coworker, comes in, looks at the camera, sees his coworker just sitting on the bed, it doesn't see Mr. Glass there, but sees his coworker. He doesn't call for help. He doesn't like call 911. He's like, oh, this terrorist is missing out of his room, and for some reason my coworker is just sitting on his bed I'll go check that out. He gets halfway down the hallway and he hears this sound in another room. Again, doesn't call for help, doesn't do anything but go towards the sound, and then it's Mr. Glass rolling up to him in a wheelchair. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, how come?" And then the Beast shows up because Samuel L. Jackson helped him escape. The Beast shows up, kills him, and then Sarah Paulson shows up, looks at the camera. At this point, the guy who got his throat cut is now lying on the bed, blood all over the bed, all over, like, clearly from the camera feeds, like, because the first time the coworker, he didn't, like, it didn't look like he was dead, it just looked like he was sitting there. But when Sarah Paulson shows up, he has bled out, like, you can see, like, all the blood all over the bed. What does she do? She goes to the room. She doesn't call for help. She doesn't do anything other than, I'll go check that out for myself. She gets in there and she does call. She calls someone. I'm kind of glossing over things. So there's a point in time where Sarah Paulson pulls Samuel L. Jackson into this, operating room where, they show that they have this laser thing that will remove memories, or something like that, where she's like, if you are superhuman,
so it'll convince you, you won't think you are a superhuman, so you won't use your superpowers type of deal.
So then it, the day that Mr. Glass was slated to have that operation done to him is when he decides to break out and stuff like that. So then, what happens next? Yeah, so they're escaping, and some of the neat things that happen, like production-wise, happen during this sequence when they're escaping, Mr. Glass and Kevin, because during the scene where everyone really, like, when Kevin and David start to question whether or not they're actually, are they just crazy or are they superhuman? It's a trailer moment where they're all sitting in a room and she's talking to them, and it's like a very muted red, like it almost looks pink, and it's like the whole set, like the room that they're in, is like this very muted red. And then, like, the colors from then on are very, like, muted, like they're not very vibrant or anything. And then when they all start to escape, the colors really ramp up, and David Dunn, decides, like, I need this, because Mr. Glass tells him, like, hey, like, we're escaping, we're going here, we're gonna go kill a bunch of people, like, you're the only one that can stop it. So Mr. Glass is kind of like Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman. He's kind of organizing the whole thing, and he's like he's playing up the Beast and saying, like, the only way people are gonna know you exist is if you kill if you, like, go on live TV and kill people in front of the whole world. And so then he starts playing to David Dunn, saying like, hey, like, you need to be a hero here and stop this from happening. So he's like playing up to both of them. And then when David Dunn finally decides to, like, okay, I need to go prevent this from happening. So he escapes too, like, he gets out of the room. It's like a very, like, thick steel door that he busts down, and then from there on, like, the colors are very vibrant on him. He gets his poncho back, he puts it on, and it's like it's like, a green thing. And then when Mr. Glass and Kevin are escaping, they're going through the basement, and it's like really bright yellow, and then so, like, the colors are back up in tone. So it's just like one of those neat little, like, under effects that's not really like unless you, like, pay attention, like, it's not something you would immediately notice, but it's like, it's neat, like, talking, like, movie making, like, cinematography, production design, like, it's one of the better things it's got going for it, where it's just like it plays into the overall story. like better than where it's to the point where like I appreciate that stuff way more than the story that they're telling at this point. So yeah, it all culminates, so Bruce Willis has gotten out, and so has Mr. Glass and Kevin, or the Beast, and so they're going. He's like, oh, I'll take you to this building, and then you can fight the guy who brought you here, and that never happens. So they just start fighting in the parking lot of the facility. I don't know if it's a budget thing or what it was. So they meet up in there, and at this point, cops have shown up. They finally have got there because Sarah Paulson, once she got to the room, she finally decided to call the police. Like, oh crap! Like, this person that I knew was dead is definitely dead. So I'll call the cops. So I'll do that, and so they start fighting. Like David Dunn and the Beast start fighting after David Dunn kills a couple cops and stuff like that. Or sorry, the Beast kills a couple of cops. And this whole time, I should mention that the girl played by Anya Taylor.
Oh, the girl from
Split. She is kind of trying to appeal to Kevin. She's kind of working with Sarah Paulson to appeal to Kevin to not be crazy, kind of thing. Like, hey, like, work, like, stay here. You are Kevin Wendell Crumb or whatever, like, who is the actual person. Like, you don't have to let anyone else take control of your body. Like, you are you. Like, don't don't go murderous again. Because she, everyone thinks like, oh, hey, you probably really, when he was caught, her principal came to her when she was in class and was like, hey, like, come with me to the office. Like, I got some news for you. And she's like, they caught him. They caught the guy who, killed your friends and had you hostage. I bet you're really happy. And she's like, yeah. Because she kind of has this weird connection to Kevin, and has some empathy for him because she knows that he's like this tortured individual by these, because it all stems from his mother, who was abusive towards him as a child. And that's how he developed all these personalities to protect himself from them. So she's empathetic or sympathetic towards him. And so she's trying to appeal to him to try to, get him to stop killing people. So they have this weird connection, and, they're working together. And then there's some, like, really terrible side scenes with the side cast. Like, with Bruce Willis's son and her, like, they all kind of end up going to a comic book store at one point. Because, so Unbreakable is kind of regarded as the best non-comic book movie of all time. Like, it's generally regarded as that. Like, hey, this is, it's not a comic book movie, but it's the best non-comic book movie. And then Split doesn't really touch upon that. This, man, they lean into, like everyone's just like Sarah Paulson's like, you're not comic book characters and stuff like that, and like pretty much everyone in the movie goes to the comic book store at one point and like does research. And some of the worst scenes are like
research comic.
And there's like a clear moment where there's a display at the comic book store. It says Heroes, and it's in green lettering and green neon light. and the son is looking at the comic books there, and he's like, oh, this is kind of like my dad, and then he's walking by, and then it's villains, and it's purple lettering, neon lights, and then he starts looking at that, and he's like, oh, this is like that Mr. Glass guy, and it's so on the nose, it's so bad, which is funny because I was just saying how good they are at using like set design and stuff like that, but this was like so shoved down your throat. But yeah, literally, like, he goes to the comic book store, Anya Taylor-Joy, her character goes to the comic book store at one point, Sarah Paulson's character goes to the comic book store at one point, and all just, figuring out things at the comic book store, and it's like, oh, we are all kind of like comic book characters. It all is like a comic book. So yeah, that's one of the things that didn't work, is how heavily they leaned into like referencing comic book tropes. I gotta start going through this really quick because this is just going on for so long. So yeah, it all ends up they're fighting for a bit, and then what happens here? So Bruce Willis is weak to water.
Yeah, I remember that from Red Bull.
So he has a weakness to water. At first I thought it was just because he, I don't know, I thought maybe like because his bones are like so dense, like he can't swim that well or whatever. But in this, they make it seem like it's literally his kryptonite. They actually say that. They're like, water is your kryptonite. And it literally like just makes him weak. Like it takes away his powers.
So does he not drink water at all?
That what happens? Like he wears a poncho, right? That covers his whole body. So like during rain. I don't get it. Yeah, so like whenever he's like wet, he doesn't have his abilities, I guess, is what this movie plays out. So anyway, there's a water tank outside the facility that they have installed just to keep him in place, kind of thing. They're like, hey, like if you really think that if you try to escape or whatever, we'll splash you with water, and because you're crazy, you think that that's gonna hurt you. It won't. But we'll use that against you if you try to escape. So anyway, the fight kind of ends with Kevin, the Beast, chucking him into that. They kind of fight, and Bruce Willis at one point like saves like this like SWAT team by like, because the cops are there trying to like neutralize both of them, kind of thing. But Bruce Willis like shoves them because like. The Beast is just trying to kill everyone. Yeah. So like Bruce Willis shoves all these this like SWAT team into this. There's just a random carry, like those big steel containers like on a ship or whatever. There's just one of those in the yard. So he shoves them in there and like bends a bar to keep them in there, to lock them in there. He's like, I'm doing this for your own good. And then like while he's kind of doing that, I think it's when like the Beast kind of surprises him and like throws him in the water. Sorry, before that, it's revealed that the Glass not only created Bruce Willis, but he created Kevin too, because he organized it so that, I don't know if you remember in Split, but there's the moment where he delivers flowers to a subway car.
Okay, yeah.
And that implies that, someone he knows died on that train, and it's the same train wreck that killed, like, that Bruce Willis was on?
Yeah.
Killed Kevin's father.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was, like, another event,
it's
obviously all connected and orchestrated by Mr. Glass, and, which...
So wouldn't that make does that make him more pissed off at Bruce Willis?
No. That when he figures that out, he's like, I'm just gonna say he kills Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay. I was gonna say like does it see if he gets mad at Bruce Willis? That makes no sense.
Yeah, no. Like when he figures that out, he's like, oh, you're not on our side. Like you made us who we are, because once our dad was dead is when our mom started abusing us.
Yeah.
So no, you're no good. So he doesn't like directly kill him, but he just punches him like real good, and because he's so fragile, like he dies.
Yeah.
In his mother's arms, like his mom's there, played by the same actress who is
wow.
actually 5 years younger than Samuel Jackson. But she played that character in Unbreakable. So that's revealed. I forget who it is that kind of reveals that. I think it's Bruce Willis's son or something like that reveals that. So the Beast turns on Samuel Jackson, but lo and behold, this was all Samuel Jackson's plan to begin with, because he knew that Sarah Paulson's character was part of an evil society that was just trying to neutralize all these superhuman beings all across the world to begin with. That's the twist in this movie. So Sarah Paulson's character is part of this society that goes around the world trying to subdue or neutralize these people that think they're superhuman, or that are superhuman. So they go around the world, and wherever there's like a superhuman individual, they go and either convince them that they're not, or they kill them.
Oh.
So with these all three of these individuals, they weren't able to convince them, so they kill them all. So the Beast is they do something so he's not the Beast anymore, and a sniper snipes him, kills him, and then one of the society, like some of the society people, drown Bruce Willis in a puddle.
A little anticlimactic.
Yes, very much so. But this, again, like I said, this all was according to Mr. Glass's plan to begin with, okay? Because he foresaw all this. He knew all this was happening. Like he knew that Sarah Paulson was part of this society, so he decided, okay, I know that we're all going to get killed by these people, so I'm going to set up the camera feeds to all broadcast or live stream to, not to everyone, just to Bruce Willis's son, Anya Taylor-Joy's character, and my mother. All right, so they all get
pretty precise.
Those three people get like the footage of this happening, of this whole event that happened, where they're all like, so they see, the footage of James McAvoy like throwing vehicles around and fighting with Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis like bending the bar to save the SWAT team. So they get that footage, and then in the end, so Sarah Paulson thinks she's won, and like, okay, I've successfully eliminated these individuals, and the world is none the wiser of their existence. But no, Bruce Willis's son and these three people, they have this footage, so they send it to the world. And now the whole world is aware of their existence, so Sarah Paulson doesn't win to begin with, but in the end.
She kind of does at the same time. She took out everyone.
She took them all out, but their ultimate goal was to make sure it doesn't go out into society.
Gotcha.
Now, the big thing that negates the whole entire premise of the movie is use that machine, because there's the machine that eliminates their memories and their ability. Just do that. You don't need to try to
Kill
successfully.
anyone.
You don't need to kill them. You don't need to try to convince them.
Just
that
strap them up.
Just strap them to that, use it, and then completely eliminate their memory so they don't know that they're, because you try to convince them, and it works half the time maybe. It obviously didn't work in this situation, or you kill them. So that ends up what they do. But you have this machine, just use it right away.
That's,
Yeah.
So he threw in his own like biggest loophole.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Again.
Big showdown ends with someone else killing them all.
Yeah. They all just like
sucks.
It's pretty bad. Like like I said, the last third really sucks. But the first 2/3 are like the first third is really good. The second third
50-50 kind of.
50-50, and then the last third is just
Crap.
bad. So
oh man.
it's very disappointing conclusion to it. To the series, and it's just disappointing overall because I feel like it didn't have to be this way. It could have been so much better, and because I really like Unbreakable. A lot of the things it does in that movie, cinematography wise and production design wise, and just acting wise. And in this one, Bruce Willis is just there for the paycheck, and the story is crap, and the finale is crap. But there's some good stuff in there. But no, you don't need to watch it. Like you don't need to see it. Like just rewatch. I don't know. I don't hate it.
Okay.
I'd give Unbreakable like a 2.9 out of 3. Okay, I'm rating this on a scale of 1 to 3. I give it a 2.9. Split, I'd probably give like 2.5.
Okay.
And this, I'd give like a 1.3.
Ooh.
Yeah.
1.3.
Just because there's like 1/3 that I
One
really
third,
like,
yeah.
and then like there's some good stuff
definitely
to it.
exact minute where it's like, okay, you can stop watching at 40 minutes and 13
I'd say like some of the stuff when they get to the facility is pretty good, but then and I know I'm missing stuff that's like there's some other stuff that's pretty good, and then there's some other stuff that's even more ridiculous that I haven't really touched on, but I don't recommend people watch it. I mean, if you've seen both the movies leading up to it,
might as well.
Yeah. Just because you can see where it
Yeah.
does all end, but don't go into this for no reason kind of thing, right? Like I know you'll probably end up watching. it
Yeah, I'll watch
eventually.
when it's on like Netflix or
Mhm.
something. Yeah, then we'll go run to the theater. So
I'll be interested to see how you feel about it, really. Like, to see, because my
I might
brother
do the
liked
same
it.
thing as you. Watch. Like clearly, I should at least watch Unbreakable before I watch.
Definitely
this.
rewatch Unbreakable. It's really good.
Just rewatch that regardless of the last.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
Okay. I think that's it.
I think we should wrap it
Yeah.
up, huh?
We're pushing 4 hours and 14 minutes of episode 8.
Whew.
So, once again, Dennis, Mike, hope you had a good time.
Dennis, Mike.
Hilarious. Hope you had a good time. Until next time, please always remember to drink and watch bad movies responsibly.